everybody. This is Ursula on the Ascension Playground. Today we are joined by a dear friend named Patrizia Trotta. Hi, Patrizia.
Hello, everyone.
Yay! Patrizia's landing in from Italy, northern Italy, and I'm calling in from California. So between the flooding that we've got here and the fun things happening in the north of Italy, we thought we'd come together to share a very special flavor to astrology, and that is looking at what's called draconic astrology, to go back to the ancient wisdom of the dragon energy. This is the creator beings. And so when Julia Balaz and I welcome Patrizia, who's a certified quantum soul practitioner, guidance practitioner now, giving readings about the galactic, and you have a PhD already in astrology, you're a researcher, a writer. So when you said, oh, I can talk about draconic, it was like, yes, tell us more.
Looking forward to it. It's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. It is simple. It is a very simple discipline to learn and add to one's own astrological practice, or just for fun, just for yourself. For family.
Now, how did you find out about, what's your story about, how did you come along to draconic? Do you remember that?
It's a long time ago. I was young and I was living in the UK the first time, because I went back and forth more than once. I can only remember when I wanted to do it, shall we say, more officially. And so I signed on Reverend Pamela Crane's courses. She was offering courses. Actually, she was instrumental, for all of us to learn about draconic astrology, because it was pretty much, I don't want to say forgotten, but put to one side for some reason, cosmic reason that I really don't know. Something resonated when I read about draconic astrology, a couple of sentences. I thought, I need to do that. Hang on a minute, I need to do that. And then I noticed she was doing two courses. One was draconic. The other one, I think she was calling interdimensional astrology. That it's something, it's, shall we say, a version that's much more complicated. And I don't do complicated. I've got Taurus ascendant. I like simple. I just, so I just stuck to my draconic astrology. And in a way, I think I'm not trying to say that I personalized it because I'm some kind of genius. I think I just simplified it because I just wanted the simple version of it, because it was enough. I was getting so much, I couldn't believe, it gave so much information just doing the basic things I do. That's why, I try to pass it on in a very simple way, because that's all you need, I think, anyway.
To me, just sometimes that term draconic has that Draco, and some people are a little bit nervous about Draco with reptilians and the people that are not so, good. How do you respond to that? Do you go back further before the word Draco itself was potentially holding that kind of vibration of fear for humanity?
I never registered the connection. If there is a connection, which there must be because of the Latin name, and then again, I've got a strong connection to Draco anyway. My Saturn is opposition Draco, so Tuban, or whatever it's pronounced, in Draco constellation. So, if I'm a reptilian, that's fine by me. I have no problem. Or even a dragon, why not?
Why not?
I think we've been everything anyway. So really, I mean,
there's nothing to fear. There's nothing to fear. It's really, there are powerful beings. There's powerful energy and powerful messages. If you decide to look up your own draconic astrology. So we've created a little slideshow, and our chat today is to talk about draconic astrology and then to bring in an example. And I just said, hey, Patrizia, why don't we look at the USA Sibley chart to look at the regular natal chart for the United States, and then look at it from a draconic perspective. And this idea, only because the USA is going through its Pluto return, this identity crisis, a lot's happening here in the United States, but it's resonating energy is going out around the world. And we chatted a little bit earlier before we started videotaping, this idea that perhaps there were star beings that helped us write and develop this idea of democracy, of setting this idea of freedom for all, equality. How do you weigh in with that, Patrizia, as far as the United States?
My feeling about the States is, and then again, we'll see in a minute, but by looking at the charts, it's for a long time, it's been a big mother that never minded its own business, for its own good, and sometimes for the opposite, because, it didn't have much to gain anyway. It's been well, at the time anyway, long decades ago, it's been policing the world too much and taking on a lot of hassle, which, it hardly needed, but the world needed it. To me, the states will always, and I'm saying always, equal freedom. I just want to look at the charts because it's important that,
Okay.
we need, I just want to show it, so it's easier for me to explain what I'd also like our listeners to have a look as well as we speak.
Great. Well, here we are, a little presentation. Can you see everything pretty well on your side, Patrizia?
Yes.
Good. So draconic astrology, bringing the dragons into the and Patrizia Trotta, based in northern Italy, an astrologer, teacher, writer, researcher, and quantum soul guidance practitioner. Kind of cool to have all that. And by the way, a PhD. So
well, I'm a galactic ambassador. I like it. I just like, this galactic ambassador thing anyway.
Whoopsie, looks like I'm going to have to reshare. Here we go. It plopped out. I guess it will. I'm going to trim this part out. Here we go. And I'm going to go to the next slide. All right. So before we go back, I'm going to get my annotation spotlight. Here we go. So Patrizia, there's a connection that you talked about with draconic astrology and the beautiful work of Edgar Cayce. Many of us know him as the sleeping prophet, where he would put himself in a type of sleep and be able to be asked questions about people and their soul lifetimes and channel information. I put up 2 of his books, Astrology for the Soul and Secrets of Astrology, but the Cayce books, there's a Cayce Foundation, it's huge. But are you saying that Cayce had this connection to draconic astrology?
The reason why I'm saying that is because at the time, decades ago, when I studied the draconic astrology, Pamela Crane was insistent on this thing. Clearly, she had done a lot of research, so she was adamant. I mean, she was very, very sure. Unfortunately, if I was ever given more sources, I don't remember, but I don't, because usually I've got excellent memory. I would remember if she had, shall we say, provided more information on where that came from. But she insisted that research had been done, and in his own readings, it became very clear that he was using, when discussing people's charts, actually the draconic information and not the tropical.
That's a big piece of information.
Yeah.
And I can see where Pamela Crane would focus in on that, because we really regard Cayce's work because it was 99.9% accurate. And the only time there wasn't inaccuracy involved twins or something like that. So, okay, well, let's get right into the chart, the draconic chart. So for the United States of America, let me forward this. Here we go. Here's the United States of America that you created the chart for our birth date using what's called Sibley, 4th of July, 1776, the evening of 5:10 p.m. in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So this is the moment of birth for the United States and its Declaration of Independence. So Patrizia, why don't I turn it over to you now? And this is a regular natal chart. This is not draconic yet, but we're going to compare it with a draconic chart.
The reason why most astrologers use this chart when discussing the states is because it's been time and again proven to be effective. Also, for example, on that awful 9/11 day, 9/11 day, Pluto was actually transiting the ascendant of this chart. And Saturn was on the descendant. I mean, this is the chart. This chart definitely resonates with the states, so that's why we're using it tonight. Well, for me, it's night. Sorry, I know with you it's morning. To me, it's night. But anyway, and let's not forget that this chart represents independence, because that's why, I mean, it was drawn. This is the chart of when the Declaration of Independence took place. So look at that Uranus. I mean, whatever is angular, as far as I'm concerned, draws immediately my attention. And Uranus or Uranus, depending on how you want to pronounce it, is exactly on the descendant. So I don't really mind which angle. I'm just saying that anything, as far as I'm concerned, anything that's angular, is going to be important in this case in a state's destiny. So it has always been, shall we say, the main mission of the United States was to remind all of us how important freedom and independence are. And look at that, Mars, also angular, very close to the descendant.
Yes.
Sometimes, unfortunately, that Mars, shall we say, it's been used to wage war more often than it should have done. Excuse me. But that's because it is angular. Again, as far as I'm, shall we say, it was part, not necessarily of its destiny, but it was part of the potential that the United States of America had of using its God-given talents. I love what I'm seeing, the Venus conjunct Jupiter in the 7th house, and the Jupiter conjunct the Sun, all in Cancer. I mean, how appropriate. To me, I mean, again, yes, as we were discussing before we started, yes, the States is the big mother. The world needed a big mother. It felt for a long time, especially after the wars, that, there needed to be a nation that led the others somehow. And how appropriate to have a stellium in Cancer in the 7th house. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah, and
May I just add one thing? You're pointing out the Sun, 13 degrees Cancer. For those of us studying the galactic astrology, we know that's a conjunction to Sirius.
Yeah.
This is the bright star of Egypt. This is the brightest star in the heavens. To have your Sun in the 7th house of one-on-one partnerships and marriage. Wow. With the conjunction, as you said, to Jupiter and Venus. That's a lot.
It is, isn't it? Absolutely. Absolutely. And the Jupiter, which is in the 7th house, rules the ascendant of the United States of America.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, tell me more about that ascendant in Sagittarius. I know we're still on Western astrology, but for the United States to be born with a Sagittarian rising sign,
I can only, jokingly say it's never minded its own business. The states have their hands everywhere, basically in the Western world anyway. All of us have got a lot of United States presence in our own countries. So yes. Was it overdone? It's really not for me to say, because I explained to Ursula before we started that I grew up with parents who were saved literally by they saw their liberation and their freedom when the Americans came. And I heard lots of stories I will never forget. So okay, there were policing in many ways. There were the big mothers, they never minded their own business, but they helped the world. And I mean, and also at the moment, I mean, look at that massive Neptune elevated. So it means for those who maybe don't know, close to the midheaven, it's the highest, the planet. Yeah. So that
and
planet,
22 degrees. Yeah.
So that planet, so elevated, to me, immediately talks about movies, and the whole world knows and can thank America for movies. Okay, Neptune deals not just with spirituality, with illusion, unfortunately, but how wonderful all the Disney, you know, cartoons and all this. Oh, it helped us dream. And
yes, Walt Disney, right? So imagine and dreaming, but the 22, building, the master number builder, building the dreams for a future. But for a Sagittarian rising, for me, I'm going to bring that galactic layer in again. It's typically the archer who aims high. It's long distance travel. And I believe that it's also a marker for outside of our orbit travel. So for me, it has a galactic flavor of searching for those higher truths, you know. So leaving England and the whole queen and kingdom, that type of a system, and coming in as the young pioneer. It's a young nation when you look around the world, but to have a Sagittarian rising, for me, it's like there's that window opening up for more galactic. And we just mentioned that maybe some of the authoring of the language and content of the Declaration of Independence and some of the systems in place were basically help guided perhaps with beings that were not just of the earth, that there might have been some divine orchestration. But seeing a Sagittarian rising, for me, it's like, there's great potential there. And then the sun,
well, the galactic center falls in the first house. The first house of a country, the first house of the country is the identity. So the identity of the states is galactic, as far as I'm concerned, and that's very clear.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah, to me, it's
and then look at the moon. We didn't even talk about this Aquarian moon, right? So do you want to make a comment on that, and then we'll get to the draconic chart?
The only thing I want, well, let's not forget that Pluto is in the second house of institutions, of money. It's in Capricorn, so it rules top-down institutions. That's been receiving, shall we say, its return after about 250 years. So we will see a lot of changes in terms of institutions, money, finance, and what affects America, whether we like it or whether we don't, affects the world. So as far as we all know, consumerism and the materialistic drive that's been, shall we say, bringing the whole world forward is going to change. We are not going to be as materialistic as that we used to be, and that's going to change big time. And this moon and the South Node in Aquarius, anyway, is I want to focus on that for a moment, and then, if you don't mind, just move on to the Aquarius, the draconic reversion of America's chart, because that's going to be interesting. Let's remember the moon in Aquarius, and the air element, because this is going to become very interesting. Here, there's a lot of water. Let's look at the draconic one.
Here is the draconic chart for the United States.
Now, look at what happens to all that water. The water now, the balance of the elements is something that we must always look at. Here, we've got a predominance of air element. The air element has become much more, shall we say, prominent than the water element in the previous chart. The moon has turned into Libra, has transformed, as I say, into Libra here. And in the previous chart, it ruled the 8th house of transformation. No, you've moved on to the.
Excuse me.
Okay, but we can leave it here anyway. It doesn't matter.
We'll just, you know, it's all right. I'm learning how to do this, toggling back and forth. That's fine. So I'll run a pause though. Could we, since we'll cut here, while we're on this chart of now we've moved into the USA natal draconic, before we interpret it a little bit, tell us the difference, like what makes this chart draconic, like the whole theory behind how the nodes shift to 0 degrees Aries.
Well, draconic astrology, if you want to know, for example, where your draconic sun is, all you have to do is subtract, well, first of all, turn all planets into its absolute longitude, and then you subtract the degree of your north node from whatever planet you want to find. So basically it begins with 0 Aries. That's what was supposed to be the draconic zodiac. I'm not explaining this very clearly. I'm really sorry.
So here's the north node. I'm
talking about the natal north node. So you have to subtract the natal north node from your sun, for example, in absolute longitude, and then that will tell you where your draconic sun is. And I'm not sure whether I'm making it clear. Not really.
Well, what I could do is just shout out to say I found a way to find your draconic chart on astro.com. So in essence, you take your normal birth information and click draconic astrology. But what's happening is the 0 degrees Aries point is going to your north node. So it shifts your rising sign. So that's for me, the biggest carryaway. And if I'm incorrect, please let me know. But our rising sign shifts oftentimes as we look at our draconic astrology. So how does that sit? We've just gone from Sagittarian rising United States now to a Leo rising for draconic astrology for the United States Sibley chart.
Yeah, but what I really wanted to focus on more than anything, for some reason, don't ask me why, because that's how I work. So I see there's a very simple technique, which I call chart signature. I've learned to call it like that ages ago. So you look at the elements and the qualities, and you see, for example, in this case, there's lots of air. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's lots of air, so that's a predominance of air, and the quality is fixed. Look, I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got 6 fixed signs. Fixed air means Aquarius. So the chart signature, it's almost like saying the psychology of the states is Aquarius. And my God, if the states are not Aquarius fundamentally on a soul level, what else is? I mean,
wow.
Yeah.
Well, so if we were to interpret the previous chart, this is fixed air, Aquarius, for the draconic chart for the United States. But if we go backwards, and I've learned how to do that now. If we go backwards to the previous chart, what's the energetic signature?
You've got lots of water, and you've got cardinal water is Cancer.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, so it shifts from Cancer to Aquarius. So I'm not saying it's both. What I'm trying to say, it is both. It has got both energy. On a lower level, it's Cancer. It's almost like psychologically it's Cancer, because it has been acting like a big mother, but really on a soul level, the quality is Aquarius.
Wow. Yeah. That is just holding that to go from the Cancerian nurturer mother into everyone's business, probably the helicopter mother that you were kind of speaking of, like, hey, do your chores, to now the Aquarian, which is much more detached.
Oh, God.
And, like, hey, we're looking at the bigger picture, the future, hopes and dreams.
Absolutely.
So tell me more about the draconic chart for the USA chart, because I love what you're talking about. This broad brush of that energetic signature is more Aquarian when we move into the soul essence of a draconic astrology chart.
Well, I find it interesting. I'm just looking at the second house now, where there's Pluto in the south node, whereas before in the tropical chart, Pluto is in Capricorn. Here it turns into Virgo, so interesting. And And it's money. We're talking about, this is a money house, let's not forget. So what's Virgo? It's health. It has karma, as far as I can see it, in terms also of big pharma. And I won't go into that now because it's just too long. It becomes, we both know, I think we can imagine why. I won't go into that. It's just too complicated.
Valuing healthcare. We'll keep it high level. Valuing healthcare.
Absolutely.
Money spent around and value, because second house is what you value.
Absolutely.
So health, the daily activities, analysis, the practical, the mundane, you know, bringing it down for devoted service. But with Pluto, adding that in Virgo, interesting. So we've moved to an Aquarian kind of soul for.
And Pluto is opposition, sorry, interrupting. Pluto is opposition Mercury, which is now in Pisces. So talk about a very, very profoundly psychic. I mean, how many wonderful psychics have helped the whole world know more about metaphysics, etc., thanks to their own writing coming from the States? How many? I mean, how many have influenced me? The most of them. So yeah, so we've got a huge debt. I mean, I got huge debt to the States there as well, because they have helped the world also with, and I'm talking about spiritual evolution, or call it what you will. I mean, it's almost like, I'm going to say something strange, but it's almost like the States have shown both their wonderful face and also, unfortunately, the darker side. And that it's now time, as far as I'm concerned, and I can see it anyway, with the Pluto return, for us to go back to the original vision of freedom, of going back to that freedom, and that wonderful vision of the true potential of what humanity deserves and can have, and that is entitled to have. We are going back there. I have no doubt about that whatsoever, especially seeing these charts. And now, if you want to have fun, let's turn to the by wheel. So let's make together.
All right. But one quick comment from Ursula.
Yeah.
So when you say we're going from, let's say, the regular astrology, Western astrology, we've moved from Cancer, which is very personal. It's a personal sign. It's about nurturance in learning about nurturing and nourishing within myself and a family, and it's ancestral, etc., the fourth house. Now with the Aquarian, it is for the transpersonal. It has to focus on the greater good. That's a huge jump from going to personal to transpersonal. You're kind of bypassing this other stuff. And I agree with you, for our light, the stronger the light, the greater the shadow. But when you look at the United States as far as a world entity and its lifespan, we are still in our adolescence. But this idea of calling out our soul as an elder, this is Aquarian. And let's see, where's Uranus in all of this?
It's Aquarius. It's on the descendant in Aquarius.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you're right.
The way I read this, if I can just say this for a moment, the way I read this is that, again, it's all about the potential of the States. And I'm talking about the good potential now, the wonderful, awesome. This is also when the age of Aquarius is destined, not necessarily to begin, but to shine and become more evident on the world stage, thanks to the States.
Wow.
For what we've just seen on the draconic, shall we say, picture. So here, let's, for a moment, the first thing that I'm looking at here, that I'm seeing, is Chiron on the ascendant. This confirms what I've just said, sorry. Draconic Chiron on the States ascendant.
Oh God, the 13 number, 13 degrees of Sagittarius. That's a feminine number, the 13. So my goodness.
My strong feeling is that wherever the States may have caused, and they certainly have caused, shall we say, pain and etc. to others, they are exactly the same who will present the world with the solution and with the healing solution. I've always had a strong feeling about that. you know, even during the COVID times, which were certainly not easy. But I'm seeing that, and this confirms for me that, you know, and also draconic moon is conjunct Saturn. So the role, the draconic moon, again, the role of the mother, the mothering role that of from the cosmos almost, because it was appointed from higher beings to be a mother. And that's what the way I feel it. The states, I'm saying, the states had that role for a very good reason. Now look at that coming on to that, the natal Saturn. What does it say? It says, okay, the mothering needs to be done in a mature way, in a responsible way, in a more, shall we say, respectful way, because it's in Libra. I mean, the sign is Libra. The moon is Libra, the Saturn is in Libra, and it's opposition natal Chiron. I'm talking about natal Saturn Chiron. See, it's all connected. There's a line here that tells me the emotions and the feminine. This all will receive massive healing. This is destined. That's the way I feel it. It's a potential. Wow. The way I feel it and the way I see it. This is what's happening, and this is confirmed by, if you look at now natal moon in Aquarius. This is the internal chart, so the natal chart of the states.
Right,
here.
so moon in Aquarius, here we go.
It's conjunct the draconic Venus and Jupiter down here, you see, of the same chart in its draconic form. So the feminine side all comes together. Jupiter, it's almost like the patriarchy needs to find a balance with the feminine divine. And this is going, again, I just strongly feel it is going to be almost receive like a cosmic example again via the states, because it's karma.
I have a funny question for you, a basic beginner's mind. Had you put the outer wheel to be the natal and the draconic inside, I mean, this is starting at, you know, Sagittarius. Does it work the other way around? Do you always put the natal?
I have actually, at the time, I'm talking about ages ago, when I was still playing with draconic. Now it's become more fixed in my mind, you know, the use I make of it. I'm not saying, you know, I have all the answers, but I have tried to put them the other way around. It doesn't give half as much information. So that's my quick answer.
So it feels like you put your Western astrology in the center, and then the soul essence. It's like the corpus. This is what you were born into, 3D. We're connected to Mother Earth. So you put your Western astrology in the middle, and the outer ring is more soul essence.
This is the psyche. This is the soul. You see, to me,
this is the soul.
Yeah. So,
and for me, when I saw this, Patrizia, I thought that is the wound that we have to go back to our origin story of America and the Native American Indians and slavery. That is the wound that we can transform and transmute and become the wounded healer. So we say, you know, we make our amends with what harm we created, but we take that energy to transmute it so that we can teach from its lessons. So but then there's this galactic aspect. So I'm also sensing this bridging into, was there a wound? Because it's showing up 13 degrees. There's that 13. Remember, we saw Sirius at 13 in Cancer with our inner wheel. So there's something perhaps about, I don't know, that wants to come through about, there's a galactic wounding too, maybe that's, oh, I get it. As we resolve our issues here on Earth, in 3D, there's going to be a ripple out effect. We've heard this from many spiritual teachers. So working on ourselves as an individual, as a community, as a country, as a global, a humanitarian, you know, world, it's going to ripple out to have galactic resonance as well. So the healing will not just be here on Earth, but it's going to be broader. How do you tune into that? Does that sit right with you?
I'm actually looking at two things at the moment as you were talking. My eyes go immediately there. Look at that Saturn, draconic Saturn on the descendant, exactly conjunct a natal Uranus.
Wow.
Yeah. So again, it's almost, the Uranus I'm looking at the moment, I'm feeling at the moment, we're not just looking at technology. It's again the freedom. It's again the unlimited, shall we say, I feel unlimited. I feel Saturn here is not acting, the draconic Saturn is not acting as the usual Saturn, you know, the dampens and everything and restricts. No, it's exactly the it structures the soul to use technology in the best possible way to awaken humanity. And I feel we will certainly see in the next few years, we will have this news between now and the end of this decade. We will, I mean, the world will change as much as it has changed in the past 30 years. It will change in exactly the same degree, but in 10 years. You know, into 2025, you know, we will look back and we will think, what? Because technology will again be, but it's not going to be the technology that's dangerous. It's a technology that awakens humanity, and it has to do with communication as well. There's news there as well. And look at this, it's in Germany, the sign of communication. So
wow. Yeah.
I just feel there's lots of, it's almost like this is the plot, you see. When I see the biwheel between the shall we say, the psychological and the soul, whether it's a country or whether it's a person, this is the main plot. And look at that ascendant in draconic ascendant in Leo in the 8th house. So it's major transformation. This is something that the states will have to do. It's conjunct natal north node. And that's all I have to say. The identity of the states is going to change dramatically. And, you know, completely being revolutionized. It's the 8th house. So no kidding here.
Well, that makes sense with the Pluto return, right? So it's up for reinvention. So
Absolutely.
There's this idea that we can move towards fear of change, or we can anticipate that which we know will help build a better world. And what's coming up to me, going back to Edgar Cayce, is this idea of so many are reincarnating who've had a lifetime in Atlantis.
Yeah, I was going to say, and
this return, right? To see, can we do it different? Can we do it better, different? And we're back.
But look up here. Look at the draconic Pluto up here near the midheaven, and conjunct natal Neptune. What? Exactly.
Oh, look at that.
Exactly. So, you know, the spirituality is so strong. The complete reawakening. I just want to say this decade, again, I don't want to go on and on about it, but this is the most important decade. You know, we alive on the planet now, we will have ever lived because of what's going to happen in this decade. And the spirituality, the awakening of humanity, the planetary awakening, you call it what you will. Some people call it pandemic. I call it awakening, but it's the same thing.
Fantastic. Wow. Okay, well, we didn't think we were going to have time for this next chart, but if there's anything you want to discuss briefly around the transits for the United States, we're looking at the natal wheel and then the outer wheel, and we created this chart the very last day of 2022. So now we're not draconic anymore. We're back to just mundane. Here,
no, this is the draconic transits. These are not normal transits.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, well then let's take a look at those. How does this shift? Oh, look at this pile.
Exactly. I was just going to say, I mean, look at that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What does that mean, Patrizia?
Well, what I like, what I'm seeing is all three. I mean, communication, values, and transformation and elimination and rebirth is on the ascendant, crossing the identity of the United States. So while the normal, shall we say, tropical transits are hitting here, So we're talking the second house are hitting Pluto, the second house of money, values, top-down institutions, because it's in Capricorn, and lots of that will have to go. I mean, it will have to go. What no longer works will have to go and completely be transformed. On a higher level, this is happening to the US identity as a nation, and Sagittarius is the sign of philosophy. So the philosophical aspect of how to live on this planet will, is undergoing change, but serious change. I'm also drawn to the transiting Chiron down here, conjunct the US moon in Aquarius. It's, it's been going over there, that point. And again, the moon here rules the 8th house of the United States, of transformation, of elimination. So, the key word is eliminating, restructuring, it's everywhere you look. I mean, it's almost—
how about we say shedding, since we're with the snakes and the dragons? How about shedding the skin, or shedding the scales that no longer are
but have a look at transiting Uranus down here and at the IC. I mean, all the foundations of the states are being shaken up, to say the least. Revolution. Revolution is the word. So I'm saying, the Aquarius age is going to start in America. Is going to not start, but being made more, shall we say, evident. So that's really, I mean, these two things, the Pluto and the Uranus, as far as I'm concerned, everything else I can even not look at. And also the Lilith has just crossed the descendant, and Lilith has an energy that's similar to Pluto in many ways. So, and that's crossed the descendant, whatever, as I said before, whatever crosses the angles has my immediate attention. So
I mean, look at this is a direct line. For me, what's coming up is this 12 degrees 21. It's the mirroring of the 12, and it's that whole sacred numerology of the 12 and the balance of the 12. So I'm thinking of course, Metatron's cube, but it's this mirror image. So it's not just 12, but it's 21, so bringing in those numbers. Any other numbers that want to be talked about? Let's see. I think the 13 for me is the feminine. So it's like the rebalancing of the feminine nature, that it is time for the divine feminine. We went from the mother, nurturer, Cancerian, but let's embrace Sagittarius, this truth seeker, capital T, for the highest wisdom, the galactic wisdom, but that there is also this embrace of the mother on a transformed level, and that we greet Lilith as, thank you, that revolutionary that says, no, I deserve equal part in this relationship. She's sitting there in the 7th house. So please keep your hands off my body, my choice, big on a soul level. Really, it's not about politics anymore. It's like, don't tell me what to do, really, as we move forward. I'm going to stop sharing. Oh, here, let me, this has just been so much fun. Patrizia, you and I wanted to share this slide before we move into split screen. If you're interested in the work that Patrizia is doing on draconic astrology or galactic astrology readings, you can reach her at Astro Consulting Tendenze Futura, and we'll be putting her information in the description of this little YouTube share. Take a deep breath. Let's see what else wants to come through as we kind of wrap in this draconic soul level with the Western mundane. So it's the corpus, the spirit into matter, the body with earth, connected to Mother Earth, with the soul, Draco.
There's something else I just want, can I just say?
Yes.
My feeling, because we discussed it before, with all the Cancer stellium on this US chart, which then turns all that Aquarian energy, to me, let's not forget that Aquarius in the traditional astrology is ruled by Saturn, not by Uranus. Saturn is the father, the moon is the mother. The states will have to fuse the energies. So all of us on a higher level, I'm now bringing this much higher for all of us on a psychological level as well. We are all learning to respect the divine feminine. No longer. So this is what's happening as well. So as I see all this evolution from the Cancer to the Aquarius and to, you know, that's strong Saturn aspect that, you know, I pointed out before. Yeah, I mean, there's so much that it tells you, if you have eyes to see, that, you know, when you start with Draconic, you go on 3 hours, and after 3 hours, you haven't stopped, and you think, dear God, I mean, and people look at the transits of midpoints. I have no time for that. Just give me astrology, give me Draconic, I'm fine with that. So, you know, there is a lot, there's many levels, let's put it, layers and levels, and the States has a lot. It's not going to be easy. Okay, I mean, you know, let's not kid ourselves. This decade is just not easy, but it's we are here for that reason. The world needs us, and we need the world. We wanted the adventure. We are courageous. We are bold. Now go, girl, go, all of us, because it's not coming back. And it's a wonderful opportunity to just have fun and embrace life. And the body. I mean, we want to go spiritual, go to the body. Nature and the body. Simple. Not difficult. And creative, and cook, and make your own bread, and smell the wood burning, and hear the birds chirping and all of that. This is all healing for the soul. But what's happening is so much bigger than concerns the earth. I think it goes even higher than galactic. I don't have the words here. You're going to have to help me.
I know. I just read, you know, we've gone quantum, but beyond quantum is the multidimensional.
Yeah.
So when I think of quantum, it's this desire to ascend with our higher self. And when we reach that point of that merging of the higher self with our earthly self, that's the multidimensional of all time happening at once. But we don't know. So I would just say, if you're listening still to our little chat here with Patrizia and Ursula, fear not. It's on schedule.
Yes.
We agreed to show up to witness and be part of this shift of ages. And we can never go back. There's no, even if we tried, when we put our foot in the river, we can never put it again in the same place. It is a flow. And I love what you said about the Galactic Center, or the super, you know, they'll bring it in the Galactic Center and the Super Galactic Center into a chart to help see that you might as well just put your oars in, because you just got to go for the ride. It's why you signed up. But to be able to peek at your soul essence, so people can do a draconic astrology for themselves, for their loved ones. You can do it for your country if you want to find out when your country was, quote unquote, born, by its signing of papers, whatever's official. So you can look through the soul lens by looking at draconic astrology.
And let's not forget synastry. Synastry using draconic charts. Oh, that is just I do, you know, have a look at that. That's very interesting.
Well, I'm going to have to invite you back, so we'll get a little taste test of synastry. Well, thank you, Patrizia. We're going to sign out. We appreciate you coming on the playground. Till next time, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Ciao, bella.
Ciao, bellissima. Bye.